Hey guys, welcome back to another video on Games Edition. So in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the GeForce GT 1030 and answering some of you guys' questions. Is it still worth it in 2021 as an entry-level GPU? So as you guys can see, I've already got it installed right here. This is the Asus version. It has 2 GB of memory. It does say dual fan, but it's not. It's talking about the bearings it has. Now, quick disclaimer, I have the GDDR5 version, which is actually the version you're going to want to look for when buying this GT 1030. Do not go for the GDDR3 version, as the performance on that is garbage. So please don't go for the GDDR3 version. Make sure it's the GDDR5. It doesn't have to be in this specific style, but make sure it's GDDR5. So this is just another quick thing I wanted to show you guys. So I have been using this graphics card before this video, and I have applied a very good and stable overclock. So in case you guys want to copy it and paste it onto yours, here's a quick look at it. So I'm running, let's get this to focus, I'm running plus 350 on the memory clock, and on the core clock I'm running plus 240. The power limit was already set, that I did touch, and the temp limit, that was fine. Core voltage, now this leads me on to something I've got to talk about with this card. Core voltage, when you're overclocking, now you should actually adjust the core voltage, but with this graphics card I wouldn't bother messing with the core voltage, as it makes it unstable and it'll start crashing. Even if the overclock is stable itself, if you fiddle with the core voltage, it'll start to crash and you have these weird lines in your screen. Okay, so let's get on to some gameplay footage. Oh, and another thing is, at the time of filming this video, I have updated this graphics card to its latest drivers, which probably won't make that much of a difference, but it is on the latest drivers for 2021 April. And another thing I want to get out of the way is that, so you can download GeForce Experience for the updates and optimizing some of the games and applications on your PC. However, it will not be able to do things such as screen record with GeForce Experience, or the what's it called again, the Xbox game bar that you have on PC. So you won't be able to record gameplay or stream gameplay or do VR. As you can see here, they've all got an exclamation mark, meaning this card is not compatible with these things. So I'm going to be filming the gameplay from my phone directly, but I'll have the MSI stats in the corner so you guys can see exactly what is going on. Okay, so the first game we're going to be checking out is Need for Speed Heat. Now, yes, this is an old title, it's last year's title, but it'll give us roughly some sort of benchmark, as it's not the only game we're going to be testing. We're going to be testing out Need for Speed Heat, Grand Theft Auto, and Forza Horizon 4, which is not here, but it's in the Windows tab there, as well as testing out The Crew 2. Now, it is the trial version, but it should be more than enough to test out benchmarking. Okay, so right off the bat, we're on the loading screen, and it's actually averaging 50, oh right, well, it was averaging 60 FPS, and now that we're inside the game, it's averaging 25 FPS on just this screen alone. Okay, so let's get out of the garage and do some actual gameplay. Okay, so now that we're out of the garage, we can get some gameplay. So just staying here, stationary without moving, we're averaging 27 FPS. Let's to focus again. 27 FPS, and the temperatures we'll look at later on. So let's get into some gameplay and see how it varies. So just to, FPS is right there, by the way. Right. My driving will be quite bad actually, because I'm actually looking through the phone camera, the phone screen. Whoa. Okay, it's actually keeping quite stable. So in some areas you can see it's actually gone up to 30 FPS. So in some areas 30 FPS is accomplishable for this graphics card. I'm actually in one of the hardest areas to run this graphics card in this game. It's not actually doing that bad. So I'll get back to you guys and let you know what the average FPS was. Okay, so now that the testing's out of the way, I'll actually have a chart here of the average FPS and the drops. So that will be showing right now. It was averaging a good 30 FPS. It was averaging a good 25 to 30 FPS, which is actually pretty good, especially for this game with all the graphics and things. So now let's move on to Forza Horizon 4, and I'll show you what settings I'm running just before we get out of here. Oops, wrong button. So these are the settings I'm running for the graphics. Let's go into the graphics settings. So as you can see, I did have to customize it. So it's on full screen, resolution 1920 by 1080, and then vertical sync is on, HDR mode is on auto, resolution scale I've got on 100%, and then I've got the settings on custom. So graphics quality is on custom, so I've got texture, medium, let's get this down a bit, textures on medium, shadow quality on low, texture filtering low, and ambient is on HBAO, then the effects detail is on medium, then I've got the rest of the stuff on medium pretty much, except from the and then we've got vegetation on low. Yeah, so it's a mixture of medium and low settings. Let's jump to Forza and see what it's like there. Okay, so we're now on Forza, and the good thing with Forza is we've actually got a benchmarking mode built into the game. So what we'll do, we'll activate that, and whilst the benchmark is going through, I'll actually talk about why I chose this graphics card. Okay, so let's start this benchmark. So it's a 2 to 3 minute benchmark, so that should give me more than enough time to actually talk about why I bought this. Okay, so if you guys have missed the 500 subscribers special video, which I'll have linked here in the corner, I chose this graphics card because I was on a budget of upgrading the entire system under £250. So this was kind of my only option. I did have another option, but that was the GT 710, and as you guys know, that's just garbage. That won't be able to play any of these games at any settings. So my only option really was this GT 1030. So that's why I chose this, because I was on a budget of £250 and under, if I could possibly do under. So I was on a budget, so that's why I chose this graphics card, and it's not actually a bad option. So what I'm thinking is, if I actually upgrade in the future, I could actually just keep this as a secondary card in case of doing maintenance on the other card, or if I decide to get a dual monitor setup like my co-presenter. Check out his video, I'll also have that in the corner so you can see his setup. If I go with the dual monitor setup, I can have that configured with the other monitor. Okay, so now let's get into the benchmarking. I'll bring you guys back once the benchmark is done. Okay, so while it's doing the benchmark, I'm not sure how good you guys will be able to see it on camera, but the quality is actually pretty good, and it's staying quite stable. It's around 27 to 35 FPS. However, in some places, as you can see, it's actually increasing. It's actually staying quite stable in the 30s. There we are. It's actually increasing and decreasing. Depends on the area you're in. Okay, we're nearing the end of the benchmark, and so far it's not been averaging a bad FPS. Now the settings I've got this on is medium high, so basically that means medium quality but high on the FPS, which I've got set as 60. Okay, so as you guys can see, the target was 60 FPS, it achieved 35 FPS, and then here are some other statistics. Oh, by the way, this will be an important bit. I'm running the AMD Ryzen 5 3600 6-core 12-thread processor with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and this is what it's got so far, well, for this benchmark. Okay, so next we're going to move on to GTA and get a benchmark from there. Okay, so just before we do a benchmark for GTA, I just want to go through what I'm actually running here graphics wise. So it's on full screen mode, 1920 by 1080 resolution. The refresh rate is on 60 because it's capped for the monitor. And then, okay, so textures on very high, shader quality normal, shadow quality very high, reflection quality very high, water quality very high, particles quality very high. Most of the stuff is on high or very high. So that should give you guys a perspective of what it's gonna be like when you're running on these settings for the benchmark. Okay, so the benchmark has started. As you can see, the average FPS is right there, so it's not doing bad. But I'll get back to you guys once the full benchmark is done, then you guys can see the table and the statistics.